game I'm looking for is another division game, Thomas. Another one with a road team, in my opinion, should be favored, although they're not. And this is the Green Bay Packers going to Soldier Field to play the Bears. I don't know about you, but I look at the Packers, and it might just be because I used to teach at UWL and Brian Gutekunst was an alumni. It also could be just I'm a huge Matt LaFleur fan. I think Matt LaFleur has done really good things in Green Bay. I just think that the market is looking at Green Bay and not giving enough credit to the stability that they've been able to achieve when they're immediately dismissing them now that they have Jordan Love at quarterback.
Well, this is a big deal for them. You talk about crossroads. Yes, Matt LaFleur has done a really good job back to navigating. I know it's a key word today, navigating a first ballot Hall of Famer as a quarterback, navigating a lot of tough decisions. I mean, that's not easy to do. Can you imagine that? I mean, Matt comes into Green Bay with a little bit of question out there. Okay, he's coming in. How is he going to handle that? What is his presence going to be like with a guy with that much cachet? I'm talking about an Aaron Rodgers. And the Cat handled it very, very well. Now, positively, he's got a guy that he can push the buttons with a little bit more. Now it will be really interesting to see how Matt LaFleur has evolved as a leader, because now his shots are going to count. Not that they didn't before, and I say that respectfully, but now he's the guy steering it 100%. Not that he wasn't before. And it's going to be interesting to see that. No longer does Brian Gutekunst have to deal with, some of the nonsense that happened. This gives them an opportunity to be GM and head coach the way most of us had it, right? With some sort of the good, strong parts of it, and then the challenges of it. And you'll see how these men deal with the challenges. And I think the odds are that they're going to handle it solidly to even better than solidly.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's funny because you had such a great quarterback, but he also, from what I could tell, provided almost no stress from the off the field, interpersonal stuff. And so to your point, like, it was probably you kind of had the best of both worlds in some ways, and then of course you made some big splashes, obviously the Julio Jones trade and everything. You got full credit for that, well deserved. I think with LaFleur, like, even when you look, so it's funny because like we post these numbers about like how much win probability a coach adds with decisions, and the Packers for the last the LaFleur era have taken way too many timeouts before the 2-minute relative to other teams, and that dings LaFleur's rating. But most Packers fans would tell you, well, no, that's Aaron Rodgers waiting until the end of the shot clock and then calling timeout, And so even something like as silly as that, where he gets more autonomy about how the game is called, because he's the man now, right? Jordan Love is kind of secondary to him, I think is a good thing for him, because it allows him to sort of break free in the same way that Mike McCarthy is going to break free this year in Dallas, breaking free from this idea that it was just a great quarterback that made his record pretty good. And I like that a lot. Moving briefly into Chicago, I don't really have that many bad things to say about what Ryan Poles has done. The only thing I will say, and Bears fans have been very, very optimistic this year. Mm-hmm. The only thing I'll say is I think it takes a little longer to rebuild than 1 year. And so they did a really good job of turning their draft picks into more draft picks this year and picking players that I think have a real good chance of having success. My worry is we're maybe just a year too early. I don't know necessarily if they're going to have a great pass rush. I don't know offensive line-wise if they're going to be as full there as they need to be. I think that this Chicago team is moving in the right direction. I just think maybe we're a year too early on them. And this is my statement for everything. I just hope expectations don't get in the way of Ryan Poles being able to do the job to his fullest extent.
Well, I think those are great comments. I don't think I can add a whole bunch more. I'm looking forward to seeing the game. To your point, you picked out a really good game to watch because, I mean, I can't get away from this. I really want to see where Fields is. I want to see how he continues to evolve. That's not rocket science here, but as a GM and as, Ryan being in that situation and the decision that they made to go with, stay there and stay in that mode when there was some banter the last year and a half or whatever, what to do. That's a big move, right? They're the big moves that GMs make in the development of the team that they're going to be judged on for years to come. And I love to see it. No one's rushed more, right? Did he have the most rushing yards this year or the most avoid? What's our sack avoidance?
Yeah, so Fields took more sacks as a percentage of dropbacks than any quarterback in the league, and he was a top 10 rate since people have been looking at the stats. So that to me is the one place where Fields really needs to improve. But he did rush for over 1,100 yards last year, which is the second best from what in the modern era by a quarterback. So you kind of got the good with the bad, right? You got a guy that's kind of needs to work on processing, needs to work on avoiding sacks, but when he avoids the sacks, he's as athletic as any quarterback that's in the NFL, and that includes Lamar Jackson. So yeah. It's a dichotomy for sure. And I think, to your point, I really want to see Fields develop. So far as a passer, it hasn't been pretty, but they haven't surrounded him with much. They bring in DJ Moore, Cole Kmet gets a contract, Darnell Mooney's now a 2. They got Chase Claypool from Pittsburgh. There's a chance there for sure, and I really want to see that.
There's a chance. I think what they did that way, I think was good for him. And let's put some tools around him and, see how he can thrive. So.